Hello, my name is Julia Kelly. I am a collage artist, an art educator, and a new cross-stitch designer, and this is my floss tube number 11. It is Friday, February 16th. It's actually in the afternoon. I have had my head down for I don't know how long, trying to get out my spring cross-stitch designs, and I just photographed them and made cover pages for them. And so it's the weekend will start when I get this done. I have an extra light. You can see the reflection on my glasses. I usually just use the morning sun, the south sun coming into my studio, but I got a lot of shadows going on. But we are here in Southwest Colorado having a very warm February. There's spots of snow in underneath trees. It has not been that cold. I walked the dog yesterday just with an open jacket, and could have had a vest and I would have been good. So it's kind of weird. We're like at the snow line, kind of. So above us is the snow's pretty good. Like Mesa Verde's covered well, and the La Platas are covered well. I think we're not at a scary percentage for our snow load in the mountains, but we're kind of, usually we have snow, and this warm is a slightly lower elevation. But yeah, I mean, it probably means that March, April, and May will be plummeted with snow, but I don't know. All I know is that last winter I had a broken foot, had foot surgery, and we had 2 feet of snow most of the winter. So now it's nice and balmy and I can pretty much walk anywhere. So go figure. That's how it goes. But yeah, we have a pretty warm winter. I have not really been out and about much because I've been trying to get these designs done. Hopefully they'll change this weekend. We have some plans to kind of spend some time with our kids, and I might have to excuse off and finish up some inside pattern design and stuff. But yeah, so it is I guess the last weekend in February. I think we have one more. So just let's get to these designs, because these things have taken up my life, and there's not that many of them, but I'm trying to play the catch-up game where I'm releasing things at a quicker manner. So the first thing I have is another primitive animal. I have had, and I'll put pictures up here, I've had, oh gosh, a primitive horse and a primitive turkey. And then at Christmas time, I had the Dollar horses, which were basically a Christmas primitive. So those patterns are all up on my Etsy store. MF Studio Stitch on Etsy, and you can access everything through my website, which is moonflowerstudio.biz, and I'm sure I'll put that stuff here. But this is my primitive hare, and as I've done with my other primitive animals, I've sized it where you can also do it in a cookie cutter. I am still figuring out how to do the logistics of all this. I think since I have the cover photo, I'll put those down for a second and put the picture up here. Actually, so as I have done with the other primitive animals, the pillow has been stitched on 16 count Aida. The cookie cutters are sized on 18 count. So that's, you can kind of tell, I actually laid this on top of this before I finished this, and it's just ever so slightly smaller. When you're only dealing with 2-3 inches width and height, it's only 6 stitches more per way, but it is a little bit. But the pillow one I have used, these are, I have been poking myself, not with needles working, but we have a wood stove, and I've been grabbing pieces of firewood and not being very gentle to myself. So that's, if you're wondering why I have dots on my finger. But what was I saying? The poppies are, you know what? I have all the information. Just one moment. If you have been following me last time, I've been organizing my studio like in a circle, and I showed over here my new floss organization that I got, my green little filing cabinets, and how I decided to go with a wall magazine rack system for the designs I'm designing, based off of how I was taught to organize illustration jobs. When illustration jobs came in, I just flashed the chart. They would be on, you know, all the information we put in a bag, and then you stick it on the wall. So this has been working really well, especially for my floss, that now I don't have piles and I have to guess what pile goes with what design. So so on the pillow, I got to use a lot of the difference between the 16 count and the 18 count is, which I won't go on and on again, but I like Weeks, Dye Works, and Cosmo because I think they're a thinner thread for the 18 count, and I do still use the 2 strands over 2 linen. I stitch on Aida or over Aida, but I think DMC and the other overdyed suppliers are too thick to do that on 18 count. It doesn't give enough the primitive look of, you know, a certain amount. I call them pinholes, like a little bit of, you know, of the background fabric coming through. But so on this one, which I just realized I don't have the list. One moment. Nope, I can't do that. I don't have the list of what this is. I want to say it's Lagoon or Glacier. I will put it here, what the fabric is. But yeah, but I can tell you, I have the floss here, so I can tell you what floss I used. But I got to use some overdyed thread. Mainly this is a overdyed thread from Roxy Floss Co. I fold these in half and I wrap the thread around the actual tag. So if the tag's too wide, I cut it so it's the depth of a normal DMC. But this is Hickory from Roxy Floss Co. And then the darker edge is just a DMC. What is it? Okay, dyslexic's hitting here. Is it 6829? This will all be on the back cover. But then I used a lot of DMC on this one. Everything else is a DMC, it looks like, except for the rabbit. The ground, the bottom grass is a classic Colorworks. I want to say it's Mossy. Yep, it's Mossy. And then the I ran out, but the orange is Fragrant Cloves, and I'll put that down here. And then I used the edge, the black inner edge is Carriage Black, and is that Gentle Arts, I think. But I will put those here. So if you're one, and then the green for the stems is just a DMC. So I would say it's picking up pretty good, the colors, maybe a little washed out with this afternoon light. But obviously, yeah, it's amazing how many times I say obviously in these. You don't have to do the bullion stitch flowers. This option is some people think it's easier. These are just a chain stitch daisy. So you could do those flowers on this. And when I introduce my other pattern, there's another option for flowers if you want to do those. But so that is 16 count with a mixture of Gentle Arts, Roxy Floss Co., and Classic Colorworks for the threads. And I fill my pillows. I don't have a sewing machine. I don't do the cut in the back. I like highlighting the gorgeous fabrics. I don't want to cover up any of these unbelievably beautiful design fabrics. I do a ladder hidden stitch, hand stitched, and I hand stitch around. I mean, it took me one floss tube, like not even. I was just sitting and I was actually watching, the ones in Utah, the mom and daughter. My brain just went, I'll put it here. Their Valentine one. They were chatting, it didn't even take me that floss tube to stitch around. So yeah, so you don't need a sewing machine. Because of that, I do my own borders usually, because I don't usually put any kind of rickrack or anything, lace or anything on the edge. As always, I am a heavy user of fractional stitches. I like to get curves and shapes with the fractional stitches. I have a playlist now of a Valentine sachet where I break down videos of what are fractional stitches, to understand fractional stitches and how to stitch them, and most importantly how to count with them, which I think sometimes is the hardest. But yeah, so that is a video up on my playlist, and I will have, hopefully this next week, I'll be working towards getting flower stitching tutorials up if you choose to do those. So that's the pillow of my primitive bunny. This is the cookie cutter, and I do these on a wool backing. I made some changes after it was on the wool, so your tail won't look like that, but you know, that's just how I work. See what I mean by, you can see all these little white dots? That's, for me, my choice of how primitive or solid my stitching is. And if I used DMC or Roxy Floss Co. or those other threads, I wouldn't have, they'd be too packed in where you wouldn't see those kind of specks of white or pinholes. But if you use Weeks Dye Works, which most people think is, some people call it thinner or not as plump, and Cosmo, the Cosmo line from Japan, I love, and it's buttery smooth. The fiber that they use, the cotton that they use for it, is a longer strand of Egyptian cotton, so it's more buttery. But this fits in a cookie cutter, and what I'm doing next week is going to do a tutorial how to finish in a cookie cutter. I used to give you two actual different patterns for my primitive animal and for a cookie cutter. I think this time, because it's so simplistic, you'll notice is that kind of see the green on this? These are exactly the same patterns. But what I'm going to do is you're going to have a symbol that comes around where this is green, that is the same, calls for the same color, but the symbol's different. So if you're stitching the bunny, stitch the bunny the same way on both, and then just do the green stitching of that other symbol, and then that'll be the start for your cookie cutter, then to finish it off as a cookie cutter. Okay, so that is my primitive bunny. I debated saying primitive rabbit, primitive hare. I went with bunny. Okay, so then my other new release is a continuation of my Fox in the Box series. If you've not heard of my Fox in the Box series, that literally is a fox in a box. And cheese, processed cheese used to come, I'm not 100% sure of the date, maybe in the 50s, the 40s, in wooden cheese boxes. And you can find them at antique malls or in your grandma's cupboard, or Etsy has them. So my first one was, well, my first cross-stitch designed one was Fox in the Box, Fall Fox in the Box, preceded with Winter Fox in the Box. But he was actually my first one I ever did with applique, and I explained this better on some previous videos. But so I had, oops, Fall and Winter Fox in the Box. So now let me introduce you to Spring Fox in the Box. And I think I talked last time about, I kind of had a flowery one that I was done, because again, if you follow me, you know the story, how I was going to release my first lines in the spring, and then my computer blew up, but so I now have decided, after kind of saying, you're going to get a late, I said, I think you're going to get a late spring and a late summer one. Of course, the second I said that, driving around doing something else, this came to me about the wonderful look in Colorado you see when spring flowers come up when there's still snow on the ground. Sometimes our crocuses and our bulb flowers come up when there's still snow in the shady spots. So let me get these guys moved away. And I need to do a finishing tutorial on this, how to finish in a box, especially because you have the depth and see it's solid in there. But these are, if you can, hopefully I'm showing you. These are supposed to mimic, we call them mountain irises. I think they might be also be called Icelandic irises. But the actual stitch is what's called the queen stitch. And this is a modified variation on the queen stitch. But that's another stitch along with my bullion poppy stitch and my daisy stitch. And I didn't invent any of these stitches. They've been, your grandmas did them. But that's what I'm going to do a tutorial to show you how I do them, which might make some of your grandmas cringe, but it's the way I do them. So that'll be hopefully coming out next weekend is my goal. But yeah, so this is my spring Fox in the Box. And again, it's very heavy. It's heavy with fractional stitches. These are queen stitches. These are stem stitches for the petals. This right here, the shaded underneath his chin, is a blend between white and actually the couch, and this is couching. This it's not back stitching, it's couching. So he needed some shading underneath his chin. So yes, this design has all the things I think that people say they hate about cross stitch today. It has blended thread, meaning two strands. Well, it's on Aida. It has two strands of two colors for shading. It has specialty stitches and it has fractional stitches. And you know, it's just, you kind of just have to do what you do and how your brain works, and those things are how my brain works. And you know, and I'm sure another designer could have the same idea and not, you know, but I mean, but in a way, I really like the depth of those trees, the way I'm looking at it. That turned out well, the depth. You know, in my head, it's like when you knit, you don't say, I'm not going to use XYZ stitches because I don't like, well, maybe some people do actually. It's limiting. You know, it's just limiting when you do that. You can this is like a public service announcement. You can obviously you do specialty stitches on Aida. You can obviously do fractional stitches on Aida. It's your purl to your knit. Yeah, knit's easier than purl fractionally, but once you know how to purl, you don't think about it. Once you know how to fractional stitch, you won't think about it. But yeah, it's different. It's different. So, so if you want to know more about fractional stitches, or even don't understand what a fractional stitch is, go to my playlist of the Valentine, and there is a on piece of paper where I draw out and explain what a fractional stitch is. So yeah, so that is my. Oh, I like how he turned out. I really haven't had a chance to really look at him because, like I said, he literally just got photographed and did the cover, which I've already put up, hopefully. So that's my spring. Winter. And fall Fox in the Box. And then hopefully I'll have the summer one out sooner than later. Okay. Get these out of the way. Check my notes. So I showed you my designs, my whole 3. Well, do these count as 1 or 3? I don't know. Designs. So right now what I'm going to do is insert continuing around the corner on my studio design to show you kind of an interesting, quirky piece of furniture I got, storage I got from my mother-in-law, who was a phenomenal artist. She was an unbelievable draftsperson lady. Yeah, so I'll put that in now. Okay, so I showed you last week, there's my computer table, my floss storage here that I'm loving, because I can just literally take this whole baby out and put it in again one-handed, which is great. And I discovered some purple floss that wasn't DMC that I need to give to Goodwill. But here's just my babies, and that has knitting needles that I can't part from. I used to do a lot of pin and ink work, and then I mentioned that my mother-in-law was an artist, and so that's from her studio with some paintbrushes. And then up here is some vintage hoops that I have found. If you watched Shelley, Antique Needleworker, did a very interesting hoop floss tube a while ago, and I don't have any of the queen, is it queen hoops? Princess Queen, but I have a metal one right there. You can see the knobby on it. And then I've also mentioned that I taught 15 years Native American and rural ranch kids in a 100-year-old stone one-room schoolhouse. And when the directors told me to purge and clean out the storerooms, I would take art supplies to them. See that orange envelope up there is literally cards from like the 1960 art projects, and I'd ask the director what they wanted me to do with them, and they'd say throw them away, and so then I'd take them home. And then here very quickly is my design wall that I was saying. All these are these are the designs I just shared with you that I'm still making the patterns, and then there are some my spring ones and one winter one that I'm working on. So then down here, a box of shirts that might have a hole in them that I want to cut the backs and salvage fabric from them to put in my stores. My stack of DMC, my 5-pound Velveeta box of things I need to put away. I just sit in a chair, put floss tube on or something, and just do that. Some incense when I want things to smell good. And then over here, this chair is a throw everything on top of chair. Right now, my little heater when my feet get cold. My computer bag. This is my sketch bag that I take. So like, yeah, this is the thing for that mic when you talk close to it. But I'm doing this one-handed. These are my art markers. And I have a sketchbook in here. And so when I might even take that, now I'm kind of stitched out. I might take that this weekend and sketch while other people are hiking and biking. So, so that's easy, accessible. But the main thing I wanted to show you was this is my mother-in-law's storage thing. And I have never seen another one like it. You can tell how 1950s it looks. She labeled it. You can see that down there. But that's what I wanted to show you this time. But before that, going up, my husband in an antique, we used to have a really great antique lady here who found the greatest stuff. But this is from sorting type for newspapers. And I just have, like a lot of us, I just have, old thread, some of the wooden bobbin thread on it. And I've already shared my fabric collage of what I imagine my grandmother would have been in the 50s, having a cup of coffee in her Fiesta ware. And this is Folgers can. This is something that came from my in-laws, which almost got thrown in the trash. It is a woodcut print in really bad shape that I found in my mother-in-law's stuff. And this is Bridal Veil Falls, which is a well-known falls up in the Box Canyon near Telluride. And it had a power plant at the top of it. Because of the mining, our area, the South San Juans, was one of the first places that got electricity. Even before, like Westinghouse had a power plant here. Even before some major cities back east, because they needed to haul the mining carts up and over these mountains. Mining makes amazing things happen. So, but then if you look up again, there's more of the art supplies from like the 1950s, Crayola powder, tempera powder, the chalk. Some things were things that my mother-in-law saved. This Crayola roll, a finger painting tube. And I was always honest. I would go into my director and say, do you want me to save anything? And they'd be like, no, throw it all away. So I saved things. But yeah, flowers I got from my husband from a coffee shop when I had just broken my foot to cheer me up. I was sitting in the car because I couldn't walk into the coffee shop, and he came out with that little bouquet of flowers. My button jar with all my buttons from little ladies who cut all the buttons off of their husband's suit coats. I think I shared with you that. My daughter got me this. This is a chicken that's been broken into a million pieces, but my kids gave it to me, so I'm saving it. And then these are things that I need to hang up that we'll talk about later. Oh, I just found this on the internet somewhere, and it's just, I have all my little nails, different kinds of nails in it, things for framing. I won an award in high school for assistant directing a play. But so this thing, I don't even know what to call it. So it has it's like a secretarial. So this comes down, and then in here is really, really dark. And let me see, maybe if I sit down, that's a better view. So I have bags. This is the existence of my project bags. When I travel, this is what I put my work in, one of these. All of them have things that my kids have gotten me. So I have bags in here. This is my ribbon storage of just various things that I have reused and repurposed. things that I have gotten from packaging. Like I think I got some linens that had this, and you might recognize, if you don't know, this is what, if you get something from Sundance catalog, you know, Robert Redford Sundance in Utah, they have a ski resort, but they also have a really cool catalog, and that's what they're packaged in. So I have a couple of those. I don't use ribbon a lot. This is from, again, this is ribbon I got from like a duvet or something. So yeah, so it literally is just a cardboard box. I have learned the importance of a cardboard box from my grandma and my Danish grandma and my mom. Don't even get me started on Miracle Whip jars and Cool Whip containers. Another thing that I do a lot of storage in is, like, I think this is like a card box. I don't have anything in it, but probably it is from the 1950s. Other people, I think this is actually a box I got, maybe I just got at Goodwill, that just has more buttons in it. And then also the good old cigar boxes for storage. So this kind of area has my buttons, my ribbons. As you can see, this is one of those things that you can make twisted cord with. It kind of relates to what my first podcast is going to be about, but I got it. I watched a video of someone else do it, and now I've totally forgotten where I saw it and who that was, so I'll have to figure that out. This is I tried to take this apart to experiment with something and have it put it back together again, but you can see how much storage I have in here. Some of this stuff is from when I was teaching. This is literally a Starbucks box. My family knows I probably get more excited about the boxes that has some more vintage thread in it. This is, again, sequins. This is my beads that I use when these are all Mardi Gras. Most of them are Mardi Gras beads from the Czech Republic. They're glass beads, probably from the 1950s, possibly. So I have, I just have a tin. I love tins. I love vintage tins. If I can find a vintage tin, I use it. This is my, has been for years. This is hinged. My sewing notions. And then I just picked this up at a antique mall this last year. And it's more buttons and notions and stuff I really haven't gone through yet. But I mean, and not to knock buying new buttons, but I mean, my gosh, and they all have a certain smell. That's a lot of cool buttons. So, and I love that. I love that tin. So, so this is just so the secretarial area, I can store a lot of my stuff in. And then if you see, it has this little, I think it's like a metal secretary. So my pins are up here, different things I need, pins, needles, more pins, more little boxes. And then these are my dressmaker pins that I use when I don't lace, I pin. So like the Fox in the Box series are pinned. And I made a mistake. I don't know. I'm dyslexic, but these are longer. So I have to order more before I do the spring that are half this size. But I think there's like 5,000 in here, and this is my second box. So that's how much I use these when I cannot get this back. Oh, one moment. I need to order them, but they last a very long time. So yeah, so all that kind of stuff just gets stored up there, and the ribbons and all of that goes in there. So that's this section of it. And this was this whole storage thing was right out of my mother-in-law's studio when we moved them up here. My husband grew up in the larger town as a kid, and then the house next to us on this homestead, the people who sold us the land on the homestead, he passed away, and then we bought their house part of the homestead. And when we did that, my father-in-law and mother-in-law came up here to live next to us, and she only was here about 6 months before she passed away. But then my husband's dad lived up here for about 13 years. So, he's an only child, so we pretty much organized and cleaned out their 30-year living house for them. So that's the top part of this. And then it has drawers. So this drawer has beading stuff in it that I really don't use a heck of a lot. I just want to show you, so these are loose leaf tea containers, metal containers. That is a cocktail sauce container. It doesn't have anything in it. It's just waiting. That is a IKEA, pickled herring container. Has some kind of beads in it. Pickled herring again. Pimento jar. And then just different components for bead make. When I have done off-loom beading in previous lives. Off-loom beading is what some people call peyote stitching, which I would advise not to, because peyote is a hallucinogenic drug that the Native Americans use in their church spiritual practices. And if you think, it's bad form to, the reason that we change football teams' names to something else, if they're a Native American name, peyote is in that line. But I could go on about that. But yeah, but it's off-loom bead stitching is the technical term, and Victorians did it. So, it wasn't just, yes, Native Americans do it. Oh, there's some more of my supplies, some of my wax and stuff. I didn't know I had wax in there. Yeah, so beading stuff in here. But mostly I just wanted to show that, I collect jars. I am my mother's daughter and my grandmother's granddaughter. Okay, where did this one go? We'll just put that up there for now. So that's and some of the drawers are a little wonky. This drawer I have, like I said, when I frame using foam core, which is, illustration board on both sides with foam in the middle. That's what I use for my my fox in the box. So my scraps, I don't know if you can see that white corner right there. This kind of looks different. That's actually a full sheet of foam core that I get from a framer, and I just slide it back behind here to store it. And then when I run out of things that are the right size, then I'll cut off another square of it and store it in here. So those are foam core scraps, and I just have, staple guns and, different things. Hardware, glue gun, and stuff in that drawer. And then this drawer, let me see if I can open, is my wonky drawer. This is my thread yarn drawer. This is what I have allowed myself to have for knitting. This drawer, and then my knitting needles up there. Here's what remains of my wool for stuffing. And this is my one knitting project that I allow myself, because I use the same hand muscles for both. I'll show you. When I get a kick to knit. I love lace knitting, which I really should finish this. And I just knit away at it until I think it's long enough for me to enjoy wearing it. Maybe next winter. But yeah, so that's my lace knitting. And that's, you know, when I say fractional stitches are like a purl to a knit. Yes, you can knit, but man, when you learn, look at what you can do when you learn how to stitch over or stitch two together, or, you know, those other, I mean, it's a building block. You don't do it all the same day, but, you know, pick up a new skill. You know, it's amazing what you can do with just adding a new skill on top of existing skills. So, and then I do use, on occasion, yarn. So I saved, you know, the best stuff for me to, you know, use at a later date if I need yarn. And then over here, I have my adhesives. So, you know, glue spray, whatever. I have the remnants of when I was a basket weaver. I dyed my reed. So that's the tools for that are in there. And then the way back, I have some acrylic paints and stuff. So, yeah, so that's my mother-in-law's storage wonky cabinet, storage cabinet that I haven't ever seen anything like that. And yeah, and so next we will dive into that, tell you the story of how I got it from the back end of a barn and had to take hay out of it to clean it up. I restored it. I've shown you my buck, my deer collage that now it's not Christmas time. I should trade it out for something else hanging there. But yeah, so that's another little part of my studio. And I will show you that next floss tube. Okay, so I showed you how my organization has continued. So there's that. And I got, look at this thing, a mic. I'm not using this mic right now. I started to because I was so excited. I've been playing with this also this week, and it has a thing like a big circle, so your puzz and your thes aren't loud. Because I am holding true to my promise about talking about women's history, and I've shared how I couldn't figure out how to do it, and I finally decided to do a podcast. And I think I shared last time that I'm also a writer. I have other websites and blogs on the writing side of kind of my life that I'm rediscovering, that kind of came to a very unbelievably abrupt stop at the time of the pandemic when we had to take care of aging parents. And now I'm trying to get back to these things. And I decided to kind of get back with the art first because that's my greatest love. But now that that's kind of rolling along a little bit, then I wanted to get back to the writing side. And so just for various reasons, well, one, a podcast, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what's behind you. You've cut out half of stuff you have to pay attention to. And so what I have done is I've written a blog post on my website on the subjects I'm doing, and then I basically talk about the blog post on a podcast. That's the theory. It hasn't released yet. And hopefully soon it will, in a couple weeks. I like this kind of a floss tubey video every other week, and then an educational video trading. So my next week will be educational video on how to stitch flowers and finish this. And that'll be a playlist on the Moonflower Musing channel. And then I'll go back to a normal floss tube video where hopefully by that time I can more seriously totally present this idea of a podcast about basically the subline for the podcast, I think, is going to be pondering women's place in art literature and culture. So that'll hit sewing, stitching, women in the arts, women in literature, women in movies, history of women. And yeah, I'm a gray-haired lady who's doing a podcast about the history of women, but I haven't really found another one doing that. So we'll see how it goes. But mostly the big thing is that, it's something to play around with. Because the reason I'm doing this and the reason I want to do that is because by Friday I get bored and all I have is a cranky German Shepherd to talk to, and I don't get much words out. So I needed to get more words out of my brain, because art kind of doesn't use the word part of your brain. So yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But this gigantic thing, all my software is mostly Adobe, like Photoshop, and what I use to edit is it's called Rush, and so it was just a natural thing to go. The whole editing for podcasts is called Adobe Audition, and I've been practicing editing and doing it with a mic. So, and my whole setup. But yeah, so that's kind of a thing that's happening. But that won't be, I won't be like launching. It sounds so crazy. I won't be launching my podcast until not next weekend, next Friday, next Saturday when this comes out, hopefully, will be a tutorial on those stitches. And then the following week will be a regular floss tube introducing the idea of the podcast. And then the podcast will be maybe the next week. So yeah, so we talked about that. I write notes down and then I can't read them. Nashville Needlework Market is March 3rd-ish, around there. I have seen a few charts that I was just like, those are really cool. Stacy Nash, her Animal Crackers series, she has a rabbit, and ironically, my internet is out. And I have to go down to the vacation house, which is down the hill, either walk or I have been known to take the car if I'm like in a, focused mood, because you have to kind of like walk up a hill to get back and it's kind of muddy and icky. To flip it, to reboot it, because long story, you don't need it. We have horrible internet where we are. So I can't verify these things, but I am, once I have internet, you will see what I'm talking about. But I've loved her. I mean, of course, I love the animals too. So I thought those were absolutely adorable. I think she has 2 or 3 she's releasing. Liz Mathews has bees and a old-fashioned bee scape, is that what it's called? Skep. That I think is just the color usage is just gorgeous, and the combination of the fabric and the colors she used, I think, are gorgeous. And her continuation of the, I think it's her spring. Did she do a winter one or Halloween one? I think it was a Halloween one of the house with the other fabric. That just goes right into my collage artist little heart. So I thought that was really pretty. And then actually Fiber on a Whim has released a new fabric, Ada and linen, I think, called Malachite. And it's this gorgeous, like icy, bluey green, leaning more towards green, that I want to get my hands on, that is just beautiful. I think the designing, the fabric, the availability of the fabric and designing is something that I think I have to be a little bit careful of. But I want some of that. So I really enjoy and the thing that's been the funnest is the updates from the store owners as they are getting patterns in, when they share their Lindsay Stitches. She's hilarious. She's done like 5 updates, and they're a hoot. She's a hoot to watch. But yeah, so the whole process of the market is really interesting to me. You know, I have no idea, you know, at what point or if I will, you know, get there sometime. But I also have really enjoyed this idea that's coming out in February about a leap year stitch. And I think most people have talked about doing a long dog sampler, which they're just absolutely beautiful. If you haven't kind of ever gone on the Long Dog website and kind of read up about the creator, it's very interesting, and you can't go wrong, you know, picking. They're just one of those samplers that you look at and then you look at it again and you look at it again, and then there's so many things in it, and the idea of doing it in a way where you will start it on leap year this year and then 4 years from now finish it on leap year, I think is really cool. So that was kind of cool. Future plans. I'm not sure because I just finished 3 designs that have been my focus in my life for 2 weeks. So I have no idea. I'm gonna do the I have to stitch one more bunny this weekend when we're visiting kids and stuff. I think there'll be some driving time, and I think I'll have time to start one because I want that as the background to then show how to do these flowers. So I need to do that. I need to film all those tutorials and get those edited and up on the playlist. I'm looking at my design wall. I have my last Fox in the Box summer is basically done. It was actually one of the first things I stitched a year ago now. I just need to verify that what I stitched is the pattern that I have. I have a lot of first, second, third, fourth, fifth drafts of that pattern, so I need to clean it up basically. And then I have my next primitive animals, a boy and a girl, that I need to do for summer. And then I will be cycled back around to fall. That if you go to my Etsy store or to my website, moonflowerstudio.biz, I already have patterns. And like I said, I just don't think I'm out and about in people's knowledge yet. So I'm kind of leaning towards possibly not making a lot new patterns until after Christmas, so January of 2025. Like I'm looking up here, I have a pattern, a series that I'm planning on releasing winter of 2025. Probably maybe releasing it slightly before Christmas, but it's my winter releases. And then I have bigger, this is the 2-pound Velveeta. Well, it's not all Velveeta. This is the 2-pound box. If you go to get a box for Fox in the Box, make sure it's the 2-pound, the smaller. It also comes in, this is the 5-pound. This is what these are threads I need to put back. I need to file back away. This is the 5-pound. And I have several designs that fit in the 5-pound that could be another series. And I have maybe, see, I don't know if you followed me before, but I'm a collage artist. So I have done everything, 82% of what I have done so far are patterns of drawings that I have already created, sold at farmers markets or whatever, with fabric collage, or what would be called fabric applique with embroidery on top. So I have still maybe like 3 or 4 more primitive animals. And the other thing is that I'm only sizing things or selling them as something that can go in a cookie cutter, if I'm pretty sure you will not have a hard time finding that cookie cutter. There are certain cookie cutters that every time I go into a antique mall I find. Those are the ones that I am finishing as a cookie cutter for you then to do. There are other cookie cutters that I have that I've made things for and sold them in a cookie cutter ornament that maybe are tin. They might be from the turn of the century instead of like the 1930s, and they're hard to find and they're inconsistent. Those ones I might release, but I'm only releasing them as a pillow. I'm not releasing them as a cookie cutter because I want you to be able to find the cookie cutter. But I still have, all those are my cookie cutters that I've collected. And then my other containers up there. At some point when I get enough ahead of myself, I will go back to, and I have some now, I'm not in the mood to sell them at this point, from when I did farmer's market last summer. I will probably do some more fabric applique as original designs of mine and then sell them. I don't think at this point I'm going to do patterns for applique. Probably not. I'm not going to just, if I'm making a pattern of my work, it'll probably be a cross stitch pattern. So why did we get into all that? Oh, just my future plans. So right now I need to finish up my summer releases, which will be a primitive animal and with a cookie cutter, and then my last Fox in the Box summer. And then if you look on my website, I have my fall Fox in the Box. I have harvest patterns of like a cat in a pumpkin patch and a turkey for Thanksgiving. And then I have I have a pattern that has 3 or 4 variations of dollar horses for Christmas. And I don't know. Ask me later if I might throw in another Christmas design. Yeah, I might. So we'll see. I have some ideas. But so that's what I have planning on coming up. And then frankly at this point, maybe taking a little bit of a break as intensive stitching as I've been doing, to then focus on this podcast for Women's Place in art, literature, and culture that I want to get up, because like I said, I haven't found that kind of a podcast out there, and I read a lot of books. So I have a lot of ideas in my head that my German Shepherd doesn't really care about hearing. Okay. Is that it? I think that might be it. We're at 40 minutes, but I need to record this part and then put that video in. So we just might be slightly underneath an hour by the time this is all done. So thanks so much for watching. And like I said, if you like it, it'd be wonderful for you to subscribe, do the little thumbs up. We all need to pick the floss tubes and the designs we love, and that's absolutely the way it should be. I'm just wondering if I'm not getting, like, people don't even are aware of me as an option, because, well, it is what it is. But I've been having fun doing them. So thanks so much for your support, and I'll see you in 2 weeks to talk to you, but watch for some tutorials coming out from me next week. Have a great weekend.